Good morning. Today's July 13th, I believe, 2026. It's a Monday. I'm going to work and it's raining. And I think that's quite fitting actually because it's yeah, I'm going to drive to work and discuss all my assets and liabilities and whatnot. And just give an update on the portfolio and yeah, how things are going. Just not my greatest quarter. So, if you'll remember, which you won't, but the last update that I did, my net worth at the end of it, because I do all my assets and then liabilities line by line, and then I tally it all up at the end, give you the total. Um, but at the end of the last one, my net worth was $109,183. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we tally the accounts and come to conclude my net worth this time. All right, so I just realized I think I forgot to write one of my accounts down, but it's one of the smaller accounts, so it's less important, and it won't matter. I think I'll still be able to do this, but nonetheless, I'm gonna start with my long-term stock investments, which consists of three different accounts. So it's got my IRA, and then two traditional brokerage accounts, which one of those is the one that I left off. But that account that I left off is only worth about $3,000, so we'll just remember that as we go. So to begin, the IRA had $22,161. Now I'm not gonna go, quarter over quarter what it was. I'm just gonna add it up. Almost all these numbers are gonna be less than what they were last quarter, though, because everything was just down across the board. So, for the most part, at least. So that was the IRA, 22,161, and then the traditional brokerage account, or at least the main traditional brokerage account, was at 24,871, and then, like I said, I had the other account that I left off, which I'm not sure the balance on that one, but I believe it's 3,000 something. So yeah, I'll throw that on the screen, but I'm not gonna be able to tell you exactly what it is as I'm driving and trying not to crash. So those are the three accounts making up, one of the buckets of assets that I have, which is again my long-term stock account or portfolio, however you want to say it. And you know, to give some context there, I don't know. I mean, what it was just not my quarter. Last quarter I think I outperformed the market, the S&P that is, by I can't even remember. I think the market was down a couple percent and I was up a couple. It wasn't anything major. This quarter I was down 10% and the market was up like I think 15 or something like that. So, you know, significantly worse than last quarter, but I don't know how, I mean, I just don't even know how to feel. Like, for one, I don't compare myself, I try not to think too much about the benchmark as the quarter progresses. To be honest, I'm really only thinking about it as far as I'm making these videos, or, well, I guess, and tracking every quarter when I update everything. Then I kind of want to know how I'm doing. I want to have some kind of gauge on how I'm doing. But yeah, I try not to get in my head too much with that, and get caught up comparing myself to the index in the shorter term. And I mentioned it in the last video about how, if you look historically at where the market's valued today, the forward returns are typically not that great. Um, and I put something on the screen. I remember like a chart showing that the forward returns for the market when the S&P's forward PE is like 22 or 23, which it was at the time, it's not great. I don't know where it's at today. I haven't even looked at any of that, but I'm pretty sure all that stuff still stands true. And I was just looking at I've started tracking some more things, like putting some more information on my Excel sheet that I track my portfolio on. And since the inception of my portfolio, I have done, I think it was 8.5% annually. Not spectacular. I need to get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. I get it. But the market has done 20% or 21% annually. Now, we're talking, so for the market to do 20% annually for 3 years, and that is including dividends, it's not insane to have a 3-year stretch like that, but it's not sustainable either. I still stand by that, which it's copium, I guess, but I don't know. I think, and I'm not even saying that I'll end up beating the market. Maybe I don't. There's a good chance that I don't. It's difficult. I understand that, but I'm just not. I can't hop on board with 20% annually for the S&P 500 and say you know, that's going to continue. I just don't think it is. And if anything, if you look at the cycles of the market and how we go on these 15 to 20-year stretches of bull markets that are just unstoppable, and then when you have a lost decade, it's just you would think we're at the tail end of a bull run. Probably not going to go in. We're probably not at the early stages of another 15 to 20% annually kind of decade. At least I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm just delusional. That's kind of where my head's at. I mean, in terms of actual performance, because I don't hold many stocks, my two top holdings, which make up a large chunk of my account, were both down a pretty decent amount. I mean, those two, I should also mention, again, those two holdings, my top two holdings make up 75% of my account. So it's pretty criminal what I'm doing, to be honest. I should be locked up, but that is the decision that I've made. And this quarter, it just didn't pay off. My smaller holdings actually did okay. I bought HQI, and I have all this on the screen at some point. But I bought HQI in December. That's a temporary staffing agency. Bought that one in December of last year, and it's already up over. I bought it at 8, and it's at 12, and a half or something like that. So that one's up a lot in a pretty short period of time, and I have thought about selling that and rotating some of it. That would be a nice, I don't know, statistically that helps me a little bit, I guess, in terms of performance. But I haven't done that yet because the other holdings I don't know, I just haven't. For one, I think that that company could be worth a lot more, but also I haven't really desperately wanted to rotate funds into anything else at the prices that they're at. But that's something I'm tossing around still because, you know, all the great investors talk about turnover, portfolio turnover, how you should keep it to a minimum and stuff like that. And that's great and all. And I really try to stick to that. I try not to trade a bunch and make decisions and go back on my decisions and stuff. But I think I'm almost too, anti-turnover because I don't know, there are many decisions where I don't make the decision to, trim a position or mostly trim positions when they're up. I won't make that decision, and then a month later, because I'm running a volatile operation here, I'll be like, I'll have given up a lot of gains, and I'm just like, dang, I don't know, something for me to think about. So I have been thinking a lot more about taking some profits in some of these positions. Not a great quarter. Um, Mixed bag in terms of performance, but just because of the way that I have my positions weighted in my long-term account, it was not a great quarter. But honestly, I mean, to most people, well, I mean, negative 10% in a quarter is obviously not good, but I'm not too like flustered by that, I guess. I don't know. We'll see where we end up, but it's just like I saw some, decent pullbacks on my top holdings, at the end of the quarter, which have only actually gotten a little worse as we've gone into Q3, and to see that my accounts only I mean, it sounds kind of, you know absurd, I guess, but I'm only down 10%, and I'm looking at everything that I hold and the valuations, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, things look pretty good. I feel like, where I'm positioned today, having suffered a slight drawdown here, I don't know. I feel pretty good about the future. So I'll leave that at that so that I can move on, stop rambling. So up next is the trading account, my stock trading account. If you'll remember, I do trade stocks. So last video we were talking about, by we, I mean me, because you can't speak. So I was talking about the PDT rule getting eliminated, because that was a big up and coming thing. How is that going to change the markets? A lot of people thought it wasn't going to do anything. That was kind of me. A lot of people thought it was going to be 2020 easy money again. Well, it happened. It came and it went. It's been about a month now, and for the first week or two, things were pretty sick. Actually, I mean, it wasn't 2020 easy money, but it was better than it has been for some time. Like, it's been pretty bad, and that's what I was stressing in the last update, is that the opportunities to make money in small cap stocks, trading them at least, especially as primarily as a short seller, has been pretty brutal. Well, the PDT got eliminated. It was good for a couple weeks. Still really a difficult market, I would say, but you know, more favorable than it had been. And I would say that's mostly vanished at this point. It took about, honestly, I feel like 3 weeks in, we were kind of back to where we were. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not sure if I said the account balance either. It was 34,798, which is down from where it was last quarter. Although I believe I withdrew like $4,000 I took two $2,000 withdrawals, I think, and that was because of the PDT getting eliminated. I just figured I don't even need this balance this high. I'll just take some of this money and either earn interest in cash or put it into the long-term account. Yeah, I don't know. Things are still pretty dry in terms of performance, though. So I can't remember what the balance was. I think I'm probably about flat with where I was. Uh, so yeah, it's been pretty dead still. I might even be slightly up actually, but when you factor in the withdrawals, uh, it's not such a grim picture, but still pretty boring. So let's move on. Up next would be the charity account. This is a long-term brokerage account. As a reminder, this is a long-term brokerage account of money that I have passively invested to one day give back to the community. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's the goal. So the charity account is passively invested, as I said, in three different ETFs. And yeah, I don't know. I can put that on the screen, I guess, but it's at $8,705, which has to be up because the S&P is at all-time highs pretty much all the time. So, yeah, that account is doing pretty well. I wish that I had put all my money in passive ETFs on an opportunity cost basis. That would have been the right decision. So that's charity, gold and silver. So again, in the last update, I had a good amount of gold and silver, and I think I even mentioned that I was contemplating selling it, but I wasn't sure. I had gone back and forth a lot. I was either going to ditch all of it or just keep it all and let it ride. And I kind of ended up falling in the middle, but not really. I pretty much ditched all of it. So the current balance between gold and silver, which I kind of marked it down. The current balance is $495. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like $6,000 or $7,000 in the last video. So it's down a lot because I sold almost all my silver. I kept a little bit of it, and then but not much at all. That was really what I was like. Well, I mean, the gold was worth more. I sold 1 ounce of gold and 20 ounces of silver, I believe. And I'll put the deposit on the screen for the amount that I received. I believe I got $5,700 for that. So you tell me how that sounds. I don't know, but I can tell you that I got 93% of spot on gold. I felt like I was getting scammed, but it's like, and that's one of the reasons I don't like precious metals. Like, I guess the people that buy them aren't thinking really about selling them, but it's like you have to buy. I don't really know how it works actually if you buy physically, like in a store, because I've never done that. But I assume you have to buy at spot, and then you have to turn around and sell it at like, I mean, I got 93% on gold of spot, and I called around, and like that was the best offer I could get. So I don't know if I got scammed or not, but I think that's just how it works, right? I mean, they take the risk of it falling in value, which is actually kind of funny because I called in advance and I only asked about silver. And I was like, "Hey, what can you give me for this silver?" And he was like, the guy at the store was like, "Oh, I'd do about 93%." And then I showed up and that 93% became 92% real quick. And I was like, "Well, dang, that's kind of scummy." But I don't know, maybe I guess things had changed because of the day, I'll put a chart on the screen of when I went in there. I went in there and silver was down, like silver had just rallied the past few days. And I was like, okay, it's probably a good time. I don't think this reclaims highs. It's probably a good time to ditch it. And, but I kind of did want to see if it was going to, like, if we were going to push highs. It would have been an insane reclaim on silver if that had, had fully reclaimed and taken out highs. And then things would have gotten hectic. So I was kind of wanting to see if that was going to happen, but it didn't. We pushed up, and then it rejected pretty hard one day. It was down, I think, like 5%, and that was the day that I took it in. And I was like, screw this, whatever. It's down, but I'm just going to ditch it anyway. And the guy was all like, oh, man, it's down a lot today. Like, they even literally said, like, maybe you don't even want to sell it today. Maybe just come back another time. And I was like, geez, man, like, you guys, I mean, I get it that they're going to, like, they're going to do their little spiel on like how it's not worth anything so they can buy it from you for less probably. But it genuinely did seem like they didn't want it, I'll be honest. And I really genuinely didn't want it either. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. uh I sold it. I even took the 92%. He was generous to give me the 93%. Maybe that's true, I don't know. And then the next day, silver was down like over 10%, which I thought was kind of funny which I guess I shouldn't think that because again, like I understand they have to make their margin or whatever. But it's just like, he did tell me on the phone 93%, and then he said 92%. And I'm just like, all right, like, that's my gold and silver balance. That's why it has been reduced to $495. Moving on to cash, my cash balance is $8,156. I don't have some of these accounts. I'm not going to be able to post screenshots because I don't have statements, or maybe by this point I will, but then the balances won't add up, so I probably just won't. But for some reason, we're halfway through the month and I can't get a statement from like 2 different accounts that I have. So you'll just have to take my word that I'm not lying. Not much to be said on cash, but that's the balance for you. And that brings my total assets to $99,187. I'm not even worth $100,000 anymore. How sad is that? That is the total assets for you. And then my liabilities, as you know, same as last time. It's pretty much just my Chase credit card, which is, or had a balance of about $550. Almost said thousand. $550,000 on my Chase credit card, so that's good. But no, it's $550, bringing my net worth to $98,637. So, like I said, this is a quarter to forget. Um, but you know, it is what it is. I don't know. Take it in stride. Not every quarter is going to be a banger, and for what it's worth, not much. But my expenses were not insignificantly higher. That's how I'll put it. I don't want to jump into all that, but it is worth mentioning that. And so as we go forward, I think we're in a good position to build going forward, and we're in a good position for my long-term stock portfolio to see much better returns. But that's obviously not guaranteed. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know, but that's my Q2 2026 update. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in Q3, I guess.